Hello, internets. Just maybe a quick one. We'll see how much I babble about this. Quickish update about the ALS Research Symposium that happened on Saturday. A lot of good information, a lot of hopefulness, but also discouragement. Um, so, there were 3 speakers. The first one was Dr. Smart, appropriately named. He had a demo of a almost autonomous self-driving wheelchair. Basically, instead of having to steer the thing, you just tell it where you want to go, and then the wheelchair figures out how to get you there. Technology is still in its early stages, but it's really cool. Amazingly cool. Because, to tell you the truth, one of the reasons that I resist the scooter and everything in the stores is because I'm terrified of running somebody over. And if I had a chair that had a built-in curb feeler that wouldn't let me, that would be amazing. And I imagine it's pretty tiring to have to consistently exert your will on a huge piece of machinery, and eventually you can't, so you have to rely on other people to drive for you. So he's doing a lot of really amazing work. I put him in touch with a couple of my Intel cohorts to hopefully get something going. I felt kind of bad because most of the work he was doing, I think, was over most people's heads. And also because of the other 2 guests, they didn't kind of care. Because guest number 2 was Dr. Beckman, the guy who's doing the copper clinical trials that I was telling you about, that Dr. Goslin was excited to have me be her primary candidate for. That was a really good presentation, but not so great at the same time because the trial hasn't even started in Australia yet. They can't get it off the ground. So many committees and everything, and until they get that off the ground, there's not a chance in hell of it happening here. And you could feel the frustration pouring off of him when he was giving this talk, explaining how his medicine theoretically works and all of the ups and downs of working with the FDA, why the FDA is a good thing. He cited examples of people going, how did he call it, medical tourism. People going out of country for stem cell treatments and then coming back with cancer. That's why the FDA exists, folks. So, frustrating. But at least there is movement, but trials won't be happening here for months and months and months. So that was lame. Then the last one was Dr. Bedlack, who, not gonna lie, we saw this guy going in. He is the epitome of the kooky professor guy, like kind of crazy hair. He had a suit jacket that was bedazzled, like this weird star pattern bejeweled on the back, and white sneakers. And yeah, I was like, oh god, this guy. But he's actually the front of a huge project called ALS Untangled. What they do is amazing. Every time someone on the internet sees some miracle medicine, like, hey, this supplement cured this woman of ALS, ALS Untangled will go research that. And they will figure out if it's dangerous, if it's semi-plausible, if it's worth pursuing. There's actually a couple of them that they are throwing money at to research further because results kind of do look good. And they're off the shelf, so they don't have to go through the FDA to get testing approvals. Yeah, so their project, the idea is really cool, and I'd heard of it before, and I'm kind of ashamed that I didn't dig into it before the symposium. It's something I should have been tracking for a very long time, and I'm glad it exists, and I'm gonna check it out later. Yeah, so really awesome thing, really discouraging news, really cool project. But then beyond that, I saw only, a couple of people that I had seen before in support groups or what have you. Yeah, that's just going to continue to be a thing, I think. It's good to see the few people that I did see. I met a woman who she was awesome. She had an AFO, the leg brace like I have, but she had sewn pockets into the cuff, so it was her wallet. And I had to approach her and tell her how awesome that was. There were a few people that, there was one guy in particular that he was younger than me, and during the QA he asked questions. He was afflicted, and he was there with his equally young wife, and I felt horrible for them. After the event, the Q&A, everything was over, I went to go talk to those guys. I actually didn't get a chance to talk to Dr. Bedluck, and I'd wanted to. He had some frustrations of his own in his presentation, and it was primarily that people are pursuing these aftermarket therapies. What did he call them? AOTs? Or alternative something. AOTs. My screen keeps changing, that's why you're seeing hue changes in my face, sorry. But they can't get people to participate in legitimate scientific medical trials for ALS because these people are reading all of this bullshit on the internet and taking that as fact. And so they don't want to participate in this other thing because they're doing this stupid trial that is probably snake oil or worse, and they'd rather take their chances with that than help pursue legitimate science that's going to benefit everyone. And you could feel his frustration with that, and I obviously share that frustration because seriously, you're gonna buy a medicine off of the internet that swears it heals ALS and is clinically proven and is perfectly safe, and yet your neurologist has never heard of this? Really? People are so dumb, but they're also just so desperate because they're of the same mindset of what could it possibly hurt, and they actually went over what it could possibly hurt. There's an emotional investment. You're getting your hopes dashed. Psychologically, you're prolonging your denial about your inevitable demise and putting off doing things you should be doing. It can financially ruin you. All of those things, but, whatever. Pursue what you gotta. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, and I wanted to. I did talk to Dr. Beckman. I introduced myself as one of Dr. Goslin's goslings, and that seemed to amuse him quite a bit. He apparently had never heard that before, so maybe I made it up. It was actually super discouraging talking to him. The young man with his young wife approached as well, and he asked us both if we had the SOD1 mutation, and we both did. He asked me which one I had, and I guess I hadn't realized that there were variants in that mutation. But there are, and apparently there's a fast-moving one and a slow-moving one. Obviously, I've got the slow-moving one. I've, been diagnosed for over 2 years, and I am still technically capable of walking on my own. Technically. The kid, though, he had the fast-moving one, and moreover, it had claimed quite a few people in his family already, and that was sobering as shit. A lot of people use me as their, well, it could be worse, and a lot of people think that there is not much out there that's worse than ALS, but getting it so young and knowing it's going to hit you fast. It hit everyone in his family fast, and apparently that SOD1 variant usually kills in 2 years. He only had a slight limp, but he'd only been diagnosed in November, so it was just sobering as hell to realize that if they hold these symposiums every 2 years, he's probably not gonna be at the next one. That sucks. It also sucks that Dr. Beckman said between the two mutations, his was the one he's interested in, not the slow-moving one. In fact, he wouldn't recommend the copper treatment for the slower-moving one. He doesn't think it'll actually do anything, which was frustrating to him because the FDA isn't going to approve trials for the fast-moving one because they're going to want results. And, hey, this guy lived 3 months longer than he probably would have, versus, hey, we give her 5 more years. One of them is clearly the more impressive of the two. So I understand why he wants the group that he does. And he's still, as he repeatedly said, still figuring out the dosage and all of the stuff. He knows what he's doing with mice, but not with humans yet. And he's just really frustrated with the entire process. And he mentioned in his talk that he's pretty much turned the trials over to the company that's going to be making the drug. So it's not even up to him to choose who participates. So, yeah, it doesn't look like I'm gonna get to do that after all. And that sucks. Sucks a lot. Excuse me. After that, I went to go talk to Dr. Smart about his awesome wheelchair. And we talked quite a bit and exchanged just geek crap. It was kind of important for me to talk to him because I felt like nobody in the room understood that what he was doing, between the three of them, probably the most actual useful good soon for everybody in the room. Dr. Bedlack is doing really great work, but mostly for the people who are gullible enough to fall for that shit. Dr. Beckman is doing, it was really confusing, by the way, Bedlack and Beckman, crazy. Dr. Beckman is doing what he can, but it's beyond his control what's happening, and he's obviously frustrated. I really hope he doesn't just completely lose hope. Because there really wasn't a lot of that in the whole day. There was advancements, there was some progression. Both Bedlack and Beckman are actually really hopeful and nearly positive that breakthroughs for ALS are going to happen any day now. Literally any day now. So that hopefulness is contagious, but for my direct line, kind of a step back, I felt, and try not to be discouraged about it, but, you know, stuff happens. Yeah. Oops. I have all 3 cats in the room with me right now. That's Molly. Hi, Molly. Molly. Hi. Anyway, my stupid cat voice. Yeah, I've prattled for 15 minutes. That's all I gotta say about it. Just a quick check-in that turned out to be a quarter of an hour. Thank you for putting up with me. But I wanted to get all of that out before I forgot about it, so I wasn't gonna bother writing a coherent post about it. You get what you get. What do you want? You're not paying for this. Unless you're donating to the crowd rise, in which case you kind of are, and I deeply apologize. Anyway. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's really freaking hot, so I'm gonna get out of my office into my room where I can turn the AC on. And I'll talk to you later. Ciao, children!